Welcome back to Warrington Basketball. Today we are joined by Ormskirk St Helens coach manager Michael Lea. How are you? You okay?
Very well, Josh. Thanks. Yeah, you good?
Today we're going to be discussing a bit more on sort of the development side of things, really. But let's start us off. Sort of tell us a bit about your background and sort of how you come to where you are.
Yeah, so I got involved in basketball, back in the mid-90s, which, is quite ironic with The Last Dance that's just been on Netflix, It was that kind of era. Picked it up at high school, year 7 in Rainford in St Helens, and there was a coach there. His name was Ken Roberts, and Ken basically created a real enthusiasm for basketball in St Helens in that period of time. So started playing in high school, ended up playing National League at Manchester. So played for what they were called the City of Manchester, then became Manchester Magic.
Yeah.
So it was just as the National League program in Manchester started to go. Did some regional representation in the north of England at under 14s level. So I was playing at a decent standard, training at quite a lot during the week, 2-3 sessions a week back then. A lot of travel. So played and then had awful knee problems, really, really bad injuries. Had a couple of surgeries, 16, 17 years old. So I really struggled to continue to play after the age of 18 at a high level. But I was doing quite well before then. So, around that time I was playing with some names in the Manchester setup, likes of James Jones, Callum Jones, Alan Metcalf, who was a St Helens lad as well. And those guys, it was a good group, and those guys went on to have US college careers and turn pro in the UK. So it was a good standard. But I kind of left the game for a while after that. I had aspirations of going to the US, as those guys did.
Yeah.
Quite a number of them did. And whilst I wasn't able to go and play competitively, I spent a year on an exchange program through my UK university, and I lived over in northern Arizona, and I did some scrimmaging over there, and I tried to get involved with the university setup. Went down, met the coach, all that kind of stuff. Sat down and watched the scrimmage and realised that actually, technically and tactically, I was fine, but physically, I was like years behind.
Yeah.
Not just because I was injured, but because of the way that the guys train over there. They train at an earlier age. They get more. So I got that college experience in the US, which was really enjoyable because it was something I wanted to do. Anyway, came back from the US, settled down, started a career, had a family. I was out of basketball for 10 years. And then around 2013, I wanted to get my youngest son involved. So went down to a local session. There must have been about 10 kids.
Yeah.
And as happens in British basketball, as soon as you show an interest, somebody grabs hold of you and goes, "Do you want to get more involved?"
Yeah.
So there's a well-known guy in Liverpool called Dave Sullivan.
Yeah.
Some people might know him, and Dave basically had me running the club within 12 months.
Yeah.
So I took it over in 2012-13 and built it up from there. Community club, then went into a National League program. And we had the facility at the university, Edgehill University.
Mm-hmm.
So that's in Ormskirk, obviously. Those who have been to Edgehill know it's a great facility.
Yeah.
And it enabled us, because there's 2 courts there, to build a National League program. We're quite young. And we've got decent plans about where to take it, but these things take time.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So, coached all the way through from player to coach. And now my role's changed. I'm more of a manager or a bit of a mentor, really.
Yeah.
To younger coaches, and just dealing with Basketball England and being the contact, which is a job in itself, and trying to do everything they need to in running a National League club, which is far different from a local league club.
Yeah.
So do a bit of everything.
So what So tell us sort of like the main obvious differences between how the setup was in the States for player development in terms of what there is now in England, and how that differs.
Yeah, I mean, you notice that there are all these common ideas about basketball in England being, we're not exposed to it at a young enough age, and cost of court hire, and getting kids onto a court, quality of coaching and all this kind of stuff. Obviously, turn it the other way around and talk about football, and it's for us as it is for them in basketball. We've got all the facilities, we've got all the infrastructure in place, but I think one thing that I picked up on when I was over there, and married to an American now as well, so I've seen this through my wife's family, is that the kids get more court time through the high school system.
Yeah.
So the high schools obviously don't have the costs of court hire for a private club.
Yeah.
So the kids can play 4 or 5 times a week, training after school.
Yeah.
And they're getting good training. They're getting guided strength and conditioning from an age of, say, 14, 15, 16.
Yeah.
Well, our kids don't get that.
No, it makes a massive difference too.
It makes a huge difference, and it's guided as well.
Yeah.
And I put down the fact that that I had such bad injuries when I was younger, to the fact that I was training so hard and not being supervised really. So
yeah,
it's something that kids really have to be aware of. That they might want to have a huge vertical jump so they can dunk, but how are they training?
Yeah.
Are they getting supervised? Are they doing the right kind of thing? Otherwise, it'll lead to injury.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you see these kids with the structure, the discipline, the work ethic, the physical differences between a kid at 16 years old between the US and the UK, and any of our kids that go over there. In the past, less so now, but in the past, any kid that went over there would physically be behind the curve.
Yeah.
Now it's slightly different. I was thinking about this because obviously with Basketball England's ABL and EABL and the academies that they run at 16, it's different now, isn't it? So it gives the kids an opportunity to go in at 16 and get that guided strength and conditioning, that focus on basketball, that amount of, and I think the gap is narrowing in that respect.
Yeah.
The problem for British basketball is always going to be about facilities.
Yeah.
And you guys, with the ball hall, are able to run what you do and create the base of that pyramid where you've got hundreds of kids playing basketball. We struggle to do that in Ormskirk. It's been tough. Yes, we've got a good facility, but it's quite a rural area. It's a small population.
Yeah.
And we're not able to run both a national league and a broad local league as well.
Yeah, I think for us, location's probably the biggest part of it. Obviously, we're slap bang in between everywhere really. St Helens, Widnes, Liverpool, Manchester, so we can kind of get a big draw of kids in from different cities. So
we're squeezed because we've got Preston, Liverpool, and then Manchester, and obviously the Cheshire clubs as well. So we're a little bit squeezed in between. And this is a reason why. I mean, Ormskirk's got a population of 25,000 people.
Yeah.
This is why I've kind of linked up with Dominic O'Neill with the St Helens setup. There's other complementary factors, but actually, you're talking about a population there 10 times the size of Ormskirk.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's a bit untouched at the younger ages.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I know yesterday we were speaking about sort of the mentalities of different age groups and so on and so forth. Go into a bit of that as well, because that was interesting. I like that.
Yeah, I think it comes down to our coaching. Now, I'm not going to say, as I said, my role is, widespread and I do everything. I am not an elite coach. I am an experienced coach, but my skills are kind of elsewhere. I think I do well at getting kids involved in basketball, keeping them involved, and also coaching them at the appropriate level, and also putting the coaches, whilst any coach is hard to come by, I think the coaches have a natural resonance with certain age groups.
Yeah.
On their own, their personalities. So like if you look at the motivations for why a kid plays sport, it changes, I've noticed, through the age group. So say a kid who's, an under 12 kid, all an under 12 kid wants to do is play for fun with his mates. At whatever level, they just want to play for fun. That is their motivation. I've noticed that when you go up and you go to like under 14s level, under 14s, they start to be motivated by impressing the coach. Not about fun. It's about how well they can do in the coach's eyes, in my opinion. Under 16s changes again. So under 16s, it then comes, they don't want to impress the coach as much. They want to impress each other. So they want to be the best player on the team amongst their peers.
Yeah.
And then at under 18, it then becomes about winning. It then becomes about how successful can I be and the team be.
Yeah.
But there's different motivations there, and there's different ways to coach, and there's different coaches who are better suited.
Yeah.
Not because they've got any different technical or tactical knowledge, just because their personalities.
Yeah.
So if you look at, say, the way that our club, Ormskirk St Helens, is set up, and you take Dominic, who is known to the Warrington crowd. Dominic is quite a high-level elite coach, but by his own admission, he finds that easier to coach at a higher level.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, it's a case of, actually, I'll coach the under 14s downwards because I can really connect with them. In that sense.
Yeah.
So it's just different motivations, recognizing what they are, recognizing certainly what they're not, and trying to have a certain way of coaching, whether it be in training or in games, that is appropriate. I mean, if you're a coach who's screaming at an under 14s kid, then you've got to ask yourself what you're doing. They're not going to respond.
Oh.
There's some great and overcoaching. Overcoaching is horrendous.
Yeah.
I don't know. This isn't one of mine, but I remember reading this. It's like, when you're a coach, when you're a player and you're playing in a game, you're in competition mode, right? You're not listening to what anybody else is saying. You are trying to compete and remain in that zone. Different to when you're in a training environment. So if you're trying to coach a kid during a game, you've got to recognize they're not listening.
Yeah.
And so when it's one of those examples of when a kid gets a free throw and the kid goes to the free throw line and everyone lines up and he's hyping himself up and he's getting himself into the zone. And as he sets to take his shot, his parent or his coach yells over to him and says, make sure you follow through with your shot, or watch your feet. Yeah. Or all of a sudden you take them immediately out of the zone. And now that they don't shoot the way that they were going to shoot when they were in it.
Yeah.
But we can't help ourselves. Like, parents are the baddest thing. We can't help ourselves but to shout something because we want to feel like, we're a part of their success.
Yeah, you're involved.
Let the kid play.
Yeah.
Let them make mistakes.
What do you think really we should, what should our main focus in as England basketball as a whole, just the UK, what should our main focus be on now to try and sort of develop it further?
Good question, and I think there'll be many other people who'd be better placed to kind of talk about the whole basketball England structure. In terms of our club and what we're trying to do, we need more. It's more about people. We just need more people involved, more people who are willing to give up their time to get involved and help with the small jobs that actually take up a lot of your time. In terms of officials as well, I mean, we could never run our National League club without the help of particularly Dave Mann out of Preston. Dave comes down level 3 ref and he helps our younger refs improve. But but we need those kind of, and they're Dave and his peers, the older refs, they're not going to be around for much longer. They're going to stop refing, and we're going to have an awful problem. And I think the other point is as well is that I think Basketball England try and centralise the organisation of all of the country's fixtures and teams, and it just seems to be a challenge which is too large for me. So you've got 2 divisions, say at under 14s at National League, and a team of 11-year-olds rocks up. Yeah. And you're like, what's this about? Because the organisation that's gone into this game has been quite heavy. And now we've got a game of 10, 11-year-olds playing against some 13-year-olds. And regardless of skill, the 13-year-olds are going to win because they'll just outrun you on the court. Now, I'm all for putting a player into a position where they're going to be tested. But that's ridiculous on everybody's part. But it still happens, and Basketball England can't oversee that because they're too removed from it. Yeah. So the bigger clubs will put in, 3 teams under 14s, and there'll be 14s, 13s, 12s. Yeah. And the 12s will play our 14s, and then it's a waste of time for everybody. Yeah. So I think having more local organisation would be better. From my point of view. I mean, we don't get to play. Sometimes we'll go a season where we don't play Liverpool, who are 20 minutes from us. Yeah. But we'll play Stockport, and we have to travel an hour. Like, why are we not playing the most local teams at the basic level? I mean, okay, if you're an elite team, of which we're not a Premiership team at the younger levels. We are at under 18s, thanks to the link with Carmel College that we have. Yeah. And Dominic there. So we've put in place a pathway so a kid can come basically all the way through to 18, and now our next link is trying to build with the university as well. Yeah. So they can come through the age of 8, 9, 10 and actually see basketball all the way through in our area. Yeah. So we've got an elite team there, and yes, they need to travel to play the better teams, of course they do, but at the younger ages, we need to make sure that it's almost like doing what you guys are doing. Yeah. Almost like what the local league can be sometimes as good as the kind of weakest part of the National League. Yeah, yeah. Well, I know. Obviously, now we've got quite a few. I know there's quite a few teams at certain age groups that potentially should really just be playing at local league. I think, but obviously, it's the setups. I think there's been some improvement. I must say. I mean, I've been running a National League club for 4 or 5 years now. Within what I'm able to do, having a full-time job elsewhere, etc. So it's developed at a slow but kind of steady pace. If we went too big, it would just collapse. And we're getting coaches in, we're getting players in now, and people who want to help, and we're getting a little bit better known. We've got a new website, and we've done a bit of a rebrand, etc. But you just think that if I could get more players playing this game, particularly now we're focusing on the Ormskirk and St Helens regions, then we could take quite a big step up. Yeah. In terms of our competitive level.
Well, anything we can do to help, then we'll be more than happy to get involved. Really.
Appreciate that.
But yeah, we appreciate you coming on. Like, it's been good. Hopefully we can get a few more things like this on the go, and perhaps get you on for a coach's corner and sort of discuss a bit more development. Like I said, I've got Tom Sansfield doing a little bit as well. So yeah, it'll be good just to see how that compares. Obviously, he's in France at the moment, so obviously you've got your comparison with the UK to the States in a minute, and we'll see how it differs over in Europe.
Yeah, and as I say, somebody like Tom, who I don't know very well, but I know of Tom. I did some coaching with the regional teams a few years ago. In fact, I did it with it was an under 13s regional team. I did it with Steve Welsh, who was an assistant as well. And that's a good example. If I can just finish off, which is, and Steve will probably remember this. as part of the regional tournaments, the coaches get assessed.
Yeah.
So not only players being assessed, but the coaches are getting assessed as well. And I recall, in terms of overcoaching, a timeout that happened during a game.
Yeah.
And following that 1 minute timeout, the assessment of that timeout was that the coaches collectively had told the kids around 10 or 12 points that they should consider within a 1 minute period.
Right.
and ever since that, I think I always looked at it and thought, how ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, pull the kids off, tell them 1 point.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
out of them if not working hard, but not because they're missing shots.
Yeah.
And send them back on to play.
Yeah.
You know, well, we're just overcoaching.
But that's it, I suppose. That is, and really, it could do with. I know it's difficult to get. I was speaking to Mike, one of the players and coaches from Northwich, and he also helps with Bridgewater as well. But he's been hounding me to get a level 2 coaching course on the go. But obviously, it's difficult to. Obviously, there's quite a few moving parts to just set one up, really. But yeah, we kind of need to sort of develop the coaches a little bit quicker, I think, when we're starting. But like I say, it's hard to get just an assessor in or a tutor, should I say.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, it's not cheap either, is it?
So
you have to have a minimum amount of people in order to do it, and getting that interest is difficult.
Exactly, yeah. And then they're not cheap either. We had a meeting with England Basketball just before all this happened, and I went and met up with one of the new guys that's running sort of like the Northwest area. I was kind of pushing for if we could get some sort of discounted level 2 coaches, and same with the referees as well. What you mentioned on the referees, we're struggling. So when even now that they've done a level 2, we did a level 2 refereeing course, and then we're struggling to get them signed off, so they can then actually be qualified as level. They've done the practical, they've done all that, and then obviously they've just got to do a number of games. It's like 4 or 5 games now. But yeah, it's hard to get them to be assessed by a level 3, and that, I don't know, it makes it. And they've got a deadline as well, so I don't know. There's a few things that are a little bit difficult.
But the strangest thing is when you're doing the circuit on the National League and you're playing against these different clubs and these different coaches, all of whom 90% of them have the same problems in terms of table officials and refereeing.
Yeah.
The amount of complaints that come from the other coaches, or the moaning that comes from the other coaches about the refereeing and the tabling and the organisation, and you look at them and think, "Are you serious?
Yeah.
Really? Just let the kids play.
Yeah.
Shut up."
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, it's something that we could. We need to improve on, especially coaches, and then like you say, the referees. Because if you can get a few good referees, I know when we had. So I'm always on to hounding Matt Jennings. I don't know if you know Matt Jennings. He's not been he's a policeman now, so he's obviously really busy. But he was level 3. He went overseas and was refereeing some European tournaments and stuff like that. And he was really good. He was young. Obviously, there's not much money in it, and he needed to get a job and stuff like that. So now his time sort of pulled away from that. But yeah, we kind of need the next sort of batch of guys to come through and push on to the level 3. But it's just a hard
slog, isn't it? As somebody who runs a centre like yourself, or somebody who runs a club like me, it's a hard slog, and you put in. It's the finding these people, and then once they show an interest, you're quite willing to support them.
Yeah.
But like you say, then they get life pressures.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then they leave, and then that's that, and then it's on to the next, and it's just that roller coaster, which is hard work.
It's funny as well because there is quite a big gap. So there's the older guys that are sort of the level 3s that, like you said, aren't going to be about forever, and obviously aren't going to be interested forever. And then we've got the latest batch of level 2s we've got that we're still getting some signed off. But they're all really young, and there's kind of just like a middle ground that I think is difficult. Obviously, when we've got like senior games playing, and although this referee is a level 2 and a good referee because he's young, small, and like the older guys probably don't want to listen to him or just try and argue with him anyway, try and put a bit of pressure on him. I just think if there's someone a bit older, we've got guys. So Marvin, he used to play for the Philippines back in the day. He's only level 1, and he was signed off back in the day when there probably wasn't a 3-point line. So his version of the rules now are probably a little bit dated. But the men's league and stuff like that, there's the junior players, they'll just listen to everything he says. And some of the stuff he calls, I think, that's not actually a rule anymore. Or it's changed from then. But because he's older, he sort of brings a bit of respect with him. Whereas some of the younger guys, I think, they'll call some really good stuff, but because they're young, obviously they'll just argue it anyway. I just think, so I need to get some older guys that are obviously signed off and willing to continue refereeing, really.
Yeah, I think, but the younger, like you say, the younger guys, it's intimidating. You know, whenever you do something new, it's intimidating and it's hard. And all credit to the younger guys for getting on the court and standing in front of some of the coaches that we put out there. And I think the coaches need to take a good look at themselves, including myself, because, you know, my perspective on coaching and game management and running a club has changed over the years. Yeah. And when younger coaches come in, they think they can control everything in terms of the game, and obviously they can't. It's just a learning process. Yeah. So they try and impact everything. That's where the overcoaching comes in, and that's normal. And it takes older coaches to discuss the coach's behaviour. I'm not saying that the behaviour is bad, but in terms of how they speak to the players and how they speak to the referees. Yeah. And how they speak to the table officials, how they control their own emotions. Yeah. You know, because we all get emotional during the game. We all, you know, we like to win. We all like to win, but it just takes that mentoring. Yeah, for sure. Collectively, yeah.
But yeah, thank you very much for coming on. We'll have to jump on again and get some more bits done. To be fair.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Josh.
Appreciate it. Thank you, mate. Speak soon.
Cheers.